Hey everyone, it's Tom Karadza, and we are officially back from our summer vacation over in Croatia. Nick is back with his family. I'm back with my family, and it was a great time. Much wine was had. I drink probably too much white wine over there, but it's hot. The last few days was like 37 degrees every day, and we have this one patio that we go to, which I think is the most beautiful patio in the world. It's off this great beach called the area is called Brela off the on the Croatian coast, and there's this one patio that we go and have lunch there. It just remarkable, fantastic spot. And enjoy the wine while we're over there. We have a great time. We kind of disconnect almost completely. So good stuff. But now we're back. We're going to get the podcast kicked off again. And on this episode, we have Andrew Palhetas and Paul DeBruzzo. They've been on the podcast before. These guys work with us. They're part of the Rockstar team here. They're two of the coaches here at Rockstar. They're young guys. They're in their early and mid 30s. When they started working with us, they became Rockstar Inner Circle members. They were not part of the team. They just joined up to be members, and we started helping them buy investment real estate. And now 10 years later, they're part of the team and they're helping other investors. And that's basically how we've grown. And to hear their journey and what they've been able to accomplish for themselves is remarkable. On this podcast, we're going to talk about how they're now segueing into land development and becoming developers themselves. So the reason that I'm excited to share this is, think about this for a moment. Here's two guys in their 20s, just started buying some real estate as investments for themselves. That alone has allowed them to change their financial future. If you map out their future from where they are today, another 10 years, it's incredible what you can kind of foreshadow. And now they are getting into land development. So anything is possible in your life if you decide you want to do it, is my message to you. If you're listening to this and you think something's not possible, trash that thinking immediately. These guys are testament to that. I love that, hearing their stories. And actually, Paul's going through a bit of a big decision in his life right now, which he shares, and we kind of kick off the podcast with that. I still have a little bit of vacation brain going on, so I was dragging, I don't know if it's a bit of jet lag or what, dragging a little bit, but they helped me through that. And over the next few weeks, we'll have more new podcasts coming out. I'm actually taking off again to Miami for a little bit. It's my 20th wedding anniversary, so I'm going to, Carol and I are going to take off for a few days to Miami to celebrate that. But the podcast will be coming out more regularly. And listen, if you're listening to this, some of the best stuff that we can offer, especially if you're outside of Ontario, you're not close to us. We have people emailing us in from Alberta and British Columbia quite often. You want some information that may be able to help you in some way. Some of the reports that we've put together are probably the best place to start. There's 4 reports. The one we get the most heat over, absolutely, is the one that is titled, I'm going to read it off to you, Does Paying for Your Kids' Education Really Make Sense? Now, we are not anti-education. We are pro-education. We've spent more money on our own education after university and college than even during that time. Much more money after. So we are definitely pro-education. But this report is just a little analysis on the money that you spend to currently send your kids to university versus taking that money and buying an income property and just seeing what happens and which gets further ahead faster. So it's just a little thought exercise. So that report is at rockstarinnercircle.com/reports. But there's also one called Destruction of the Middle Class, and it really maps out how property prices have changed over the last since 1969 is the data that we have, and then we extrapolated the trends forward right to 2055 to see where property prices could be headed. So obviously we don't have a crystal ball; it's just a little bit of an experiment, just a little bit of charting to see where property prices may end up. We kind of find that stuff interesting. That report is there. Then we have a roadmap to $235,200 in yearly income by a real estate investor that we've helped over the years. And then the newest one is Ontario's population explosion, the untold story, how Ontario's population trends are creating amazing opportunities for savvy real estate investors. We really feel over the next 10 years is a unique opportunity to get your hands on some real estate because of the population growth in this particular area. So you have to be smart with all of this, obviously, but there is a big opportunity over the next 10 years. And I'm convinced that 10 years from today, it'll be much harder to buy all sorts of property, and people will scratch their heads and say, what happened? Why can't I find real estate anywhere close to Toronto or anywhere really in the Golden Horseshoe? So this is a really unique opportunity this next 10 years. Pay attention. The landscape in this area of the country is changing fast. And with that, we're going to segue into the podcast with Andrew and Paul. They're going to talk about their land development, some of their thought processes around real estate, some of what they're going through. But specifically, I think of what they're going through with this land development project is really interesting to see how someone can start just from buying some properties for themselves and segueing into becoming developers themselves. So with that, let's get on with the show.
Are you ready to live life on your terms? Is it time to take charge? Real estate, business building, the economy, health and nutrition, and more. It's the Your Life, Your Term Show with Tom and Nick Carazza. Are you ready? Let's go.
Okay, we are live with Paul and Andrew. I don't know, this is going to be some kind of show of some sort. Paul, before I want to thank you for, I've never done this. I don't know if I've ever thanked you. You're kind of a weird person, and I mean this in a good way, because you're one of the few people that will walk in and with one sentence say, no, I really mean this. I mean this as a compliment, that you walked in one day and you said something to Nick and myself like, yeah, you guys should buy this property. And it was in Oakville, just off Kerr Street. And if anyone else walks in and says you should just buy this property, I kind of like, I don't know what to make of them, but you just have a knack with properties.
I know my shit.
Especially in Oakville, you know your shit, definitely. And outside Oakville. But you said to buy this, and I just looked at Nick, and I don't know if the timing was right or whatever. And I think 2 days later we bought it. And that property we bought for $535. You're telling me today it's worth $750. We just renewed the mortgage on it. The rate went down to 2.74. Mm-hmm. So the mortgage on it's like $350. What did I just say? I'm just back from vacation. I can't even remember.
So
I'm wine still myself.
So you got like 400,000 equity.
Yeah. So thanks, man. 400,000 equity over the last 5 years on a property. I appreciate that.
2.5% commission on.
Yeah. Did we ever pay you any sort of commission on that? No, I think we did.
No comment.
No, I think we did.
No comment.
No, I think we
no
did.
comment.
I think we did.
No, yeah.
Out of the 400,000, I think you got $1,000. I think you got $1,000.
See, Paul,
anyway,
2.5%.
if you knew your shit, you would have done a joint venture.
Yeah, I was trying to be a nice guy. I was trying to be a nice guy.
Listen, before we get into all your real estate stuff between you two, I can't even keep track of Airbnb, Turks and Caicos, land development projects. You guys are on fire. But your health, you said you lost weight. Why did you make a point to lose weight this year? I'm curious. Because it's been this year.
Yeah, from January till now. Yeah, so the last couple of years, 2017 and 2018, my health was kind of volatile. Nothing super serious, but just a lot of related to stress and the repercussions of that, and just poor lifestyle decisions and too much work and too much of too much. So I cleaned up my lifestyle a little bit in my business and how I run that with, more assistants and a much bigger team. And then
what does cleaning up your lifestyle mean?
Well,
did you just go to bed on time? Like I don't feel like you were doing lines of coke or something.
No. I wasn't.
But that's what. If I was hearing this and I didn't know you, and someone said that, I'd be like, "What is this? Some kind of partier dude or something?"
Well, sometimes
but you're a nice family man.
You try and do a lot, and
yeah,
it's
okay.
too
So
much.
you were just getting pulled in too many directions.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I'll just mention it now anyway. But most people might not know this, but I was actually a full-time fireman in the city of Toronto, like 24-hour shifts and 7 days a month and 42-hour a week on average. And then doing that plus.
Sorry, I just hesitated. 7 days a month doesn't sound. That sounds like a good.
Yeah,
I know how busy you are with the family and stuff. But when you just hear that 7 days a month, I was working.
Yeah.
Damn, it doesn't seem that bad.
Until you get on the truck.
Yeah, got it. No, and I full respect. I mean, that is a dangerous, important role for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, with all that and a portfolio and sales and family and kids and that, I was just broken. So, this year, coming up soon, or actually right now, I'm basically going to retire. So
from fire.
So that's going to be over, which is sort of just closing a door on a chapter of my life. But
that's a big decision, man.
Yeah. It's a big thing, but I think it's the right thing. I think it was necessary to do. And real estate's been good to me and to us. So, why
you're
not?
young. How old are you now?
34.
34. When did you buy your first property?
24.
Yeah, so 10 years. You're young, man. You have 10 years worth of real estate, probably a glorious 10-year run in real estate. Who could have timed this?
But you never say, you can't judge experience. How do I say that? I think I screwed this up.
You can't judge a book by its cover?
No, you can't. you can't judge. you can't look at someone's age and say their experience or wise. Sorry,
Yeah.
you have to judge it by experience, right?
Totally.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Agreed. I'll never forget when Nick and I got into real estate and some lady just chewed me out because I messed up on the paperwork, and she's like, I've been in this business 20 years. And then I later figured out that she did like about a deal a year. And at that time, Nick and I, even though we were just in the business, I'd almost had more experience than her in like 8 months than she had in 20 years. So yeah, I totally agree.
Exactly.
But is this the fire decision? Like, have you been freaking out over this decision?
Oh, it tortured me for a year. And, when I was, at my low point in my health, like
Pull the mic a bit closer to you.
when I was in the low point in my health, all I could say to myself is I can't wait to go back. Because for me, that meant, okay, I'm better. But then the better I felt, the more I couldn't go back, couldn't see myself going back to that. And so it was a strange thing.
And I think part of the reason that you were able to make that decision, correct me if I'm wrong, is you saw a better path for your life and you had the plan for it. You've been in real estate for a while. You see what you're able to do with real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're business savvy. You've started a family and have a family, so they're important to you. And you can kind of see and map out a better future for yourself. I think a lot of people, if they don't see that path in front of them, it's hard to make these life-changing decisions. And I think you can see that path a little bit. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can probably project out 10 years a little bit now.
All that, yes. And then, but I just add one more thing is I may not seem like it, but I'm careful where I invest my time. And then if I went back to that, plus did all the things I was already doing, something would have to give again. And it would either be my health or my family or my real estate, or something would have to blow up. And I wasn't willing to sacrifice my family. And real estate just gives me a lot of more joy, believe it or not, than even though I love doing what I did and I love the guys and the gals. And being a fireman, being on the trucks, I got more joy and there was more challenge in the real estate. So I had to give one of them up.
It's interesting. If I look back over all my freak out moments in life, and I'm not trying to say you freaked out over this decision.
Oh, I did freak out.
Okay, yeah.
Freaked out.
There have always been like the best moments in my life, because I think my first big freak out moment was the end of university, when I realized my degree wasn't going to give me any kind of financial security in my life. Like when my last year of university, I finally realized I was opening up the career sections in the Toronto Star back when you read the newspaper, and I realized my degree, a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, wasn't going to get me any of these high paying jobs. And I completely freaked out, and it made me spend $13,600 for an post-grad IT diploma that I did not have the money for. I had to borrow it from my parents. I had a bit of it, but not all of it. Ended up being the best decision, because then I got into the tech world. Then when I got into the tech world, I had a freak out moment when I was in tech support and I wanted to move over into sales. And I had a complete freak out moment, went to my manager and said, I need to leave tech support. I need to get into sales, because all the sales guys, they were selling to Nortel back then. You guys are young.
Yeah,
Do you
I remember.
They were selling to Nortel, and they were popping champagne bottles. And I remember getting calls from Nortel with the tech guys freaking out on they couldn't install the software. And I was there trying to solve all the problems, where all the sales guys were like making all the money. I'm like, what am I doing over on this side of the sea? I need to get over there. And I went into my manager's office and I said, look, I talked to my wife. I need to move over into sales. I see a job posting. I'd like to transition into that role. Just wanted to let you know, is it okay if I go and apply? Because, I was in the corporate world trying to get permission. He comes back 30 minutes later to my desk and he says, Tom, that job's in Winnipeg. And I just had this freak out moment, because I just basically told my manager that I didn't want to work here anymore. There was no job posting. And, you're in the bad books in the corporate world. If you tell your manager that you don't want to work there anymore, it's kind of like, that's as shit that's as low as you can kind of go. So
It's a good thing we're not in the corporate world here, because all the things we say to you.
Oh man, no, but that was a freak out moment, but it worked out. 6 months later, I did get over into sales. Then in sales, when I went from sales consulting to straight sales, I had a freak out moment when my Chicago field sales rep ripped me an asshole and said, you're not going to amount to anything. These are my accounts. I'm taking all the deals, because I was on the inside and I had to work with him and he was hogging all the deals. Anyway, I'm going on, but that ended up being the best moment. And then quitting was a big freak out moment. And then Nick and I couldn't do any sales for a couple of months here when we were working with investors. Big freak out moment. But all those freak out moments have been like the best turning point moments in my life. So Paul, just getting back to you, I think this is to me, it's a great turning point moment in your life.
Yeah, it feels that way. And everyone, who I've spoken to about this, who's close to me, they all said the same thing. But for me, it was almost like an identity crisis, because that was something, being a fireman was always something I wanted to do from a kid. And I worked hard. I went to college twice for it, and I did it. And, anyone who knew me, Paul's a fireman. That's the first thing they would say. So it was a bit of an identity crisis, and it was tough, but I think I've come to terms with it.
Yeah, very cool. And Andrew, I've lost track. How many kids do you have now?
3.
13?
Three kids.
3 going on 13.
Three going on 13 kids. And I'm curious, man, because you started buying property early. What are you thinking about telling your kids about money and real estate? Have you thought about this yet? How old's Ivan? How old's your oldest?
Ivan, my oldest, is 5.
Yeah, have you started? I mean, I know they're young, but have you started thinking about this stuff?
How many gold chains does he have?
Yeah.
He's got 2 or 3. Yeah.
Ivan already owns
He's got 2 or
gold
3.
chains.
I
I can't believe you're sitting here without a big gold chain on in front of me right now.
I was in
This
a
is
rush
weird.
today.
You want one of mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
You can't see Paul right now, but he has multiple gold chains on.
I have none on. I forgot them today. I've thought about it recently because I actually recorded it. It was pretty funny. I have a video of it. But he told me, and I told him to say it again, he put it on video, that he said, when you die, I'm going to have all your money. And we were driving, and I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, when you die. He told me not to spend money because when I die, he was going to get my money.
He's got it all figured out.
And so I
It's
said,
fine.
oh, that's your plan? And he said, yeah. And I said, what if I spend all the money? And he just kind of got quiet. He's like, well, don't spend it all. So I don't know. I'm going to hopefully get him into real estate. Hopefully he's interested in real estate and he wants to invest. I think it's important.
Yeah, I think about that a lot now with Aiden being 17. He's saving up money. He wants to buy his first rental property and that kind of stuff. And I just think sometimes I don't know if I was just talking to Mike about this. I don't know if I got lucky. Like the time Nick and I started buying properties, the last 20 years for real estate has been, like, could you have it any better? Interest rates have been low. There's been bits of ups and downs, but let's face it, this has been a good run. So sometimes I'm like, was I really smart or that good at anything? Or did I just get like kind of flat out lucky on it, like buying properties and sitting on them? I kind of debate that all the time. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I did take the risk. I did take the risk, Because everyone thinks that.
In hindsight, in real estate, if you own it for 10 or 20 years, you're always happy because that's the way real estate works over the past 200 years. But when you're starting, there's always that perceived risk. But 10 years later, like, yeah, it's great. It was, like you're saying.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that I looked into it more because I remember in 2008, I started investing in 2007. And then in 2008, when the market was crashing, everybody was telling me not to invest. And I was buying in Hamilton, and everyone's like, no, you're crazy. Don't worry, just wait. Just wait. Hamilton's so close to the States. The States is going bankrupt. Wait next month. Everything's going to be cheaper. Wait 3 months. And I remember my wife, we were dating at the time, and I said, one day everyone's going to look back and say how lucky I was. And I said it then. So that would have been like 11 years ago. I said, everyone's going to call me lucky one day.
Yeah, I don't think there's any luck to it. I mean, you looked at the risk, you did the formula, and it worked.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Maybe I'm just in a weird place where sometimes I'm like, things are going pretty well. Did I just luck out on that kind of stuff?
The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Who says there's the best is still yet to come in real estate?
Yeah. The next 10 years is going to be great here. The next 10 years is going to be great. Okay, before we get into some other newer stuff that you're up to, what's the latest in your property in Turks? Everything's good there? Because I think last time you guys were on the podcast, you were like, it got hit.
Big news.
Okay.
So I don't know if we mentioned it, but the Ritz-Carlton is coming or has come to Turks and Caicos. They're building 13 stories, which would be the tallest building on the whole island. And they call it the Ritz-Carlton effect. So almost like a Starbucks effect. They choose markets very carefully, as you can probably imagine. So, all the it's just having it there and being built right now, and the prices the units have sold for there has already pulled up the market. And that's not why we bought there anyway, but it's all very, very positive for us. And our property
is your property a 2-bedroom kind of villa?
2-bedroom
villa? Is that what you call it?
It's like a 2-bedroom cottagey villa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2-bedroom, 2-bath. They all each have their own ensuite washrooms.
Like it's its own building structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Detached.
Yeah. And then we're about 500 meters away from where this Ritz-Carlton is being built.
Yeah, remind me how you bought. Is it when you went on vacation there?
Yeah, we were originally looking to buy in Mexico and different
yeah.
places, and I just by chance went on vacation there with Laura while she was pregnant with our first daughter Isabella, and then you land and you get in your rental car and you're driving down Leeward Highway, and the first thing you see on your left side is Scotiabank. What the hell's going on here? The next thing you see on your right is CIBC, and the next thing you see again on your right is Royal Bank. You're like, wow. What's going on? So we pulled in the next morning at 10 a.m. I was the first guy at the bank knocking on the window, be like, let me in. Like, what's up here? Where's your financing? How does it work? So I was getting a lot of information. Then I started to analyze the rental market there. and we started looking more seriously, right?
Yeah, Paul, I remember sent me
'Cause
pictures.
you wanted to buy in Mexico for sure.
I wanted
You're
to buy
like
in Mexico
Mr.
for sure. Yeah, I definitely wanted to buy in
Yes.
Mexico. The big, at the time, the downside of Mexico was two. Number one is that you never really own the land close to the beach. It's a 100-year land lease, and the bank owns it in trust for you. So that was an issue. But also, at the time, we were thinking, well, in Mexico, you have to buy everything in cash. And Paul sends me this thing. Hey, look, it's like 6% mortgages, they lend here. And I'm like, all right, if they lend, let's go.
Yeah.
And that began the journey. And then
Little
after
did we know.
went, little did we know, it turns out they don't lend.
Yeah, someone gave you bad information.
Well,
The posters on the side of the CIBC
they
gave us
do
bad
lend,
information.
but their window of who they will lend to is extremely narrow. And for us trying to explain to them how a guy can own 12 properties, to them it doesn't make any sense.
I think
Like,
that window of who they lend to goes as far as their second cousin.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
got
if
it.
you're not related,
Got it.
you're not getting a
Well, good for
mortgage.
you guys. You guys figured it out like everything else.
But we ended up refinancing a few properties here and buying that property there. And now, I guess in hindsight, I mean, if it's been good for us and we enjoy it ourselves, and we get a fair returns. We could have done better with our money here, but
Yeah, but every once in a while you have to do something for your own life and lifestyle.
yeah, that's what I'm getting to. If your portfolio is not improving your lifestyle in some way, then what the hell's the point? Like, why do all this work? You know what I mean? It's all about you're investing for later in the future too. But in the short term, if the profits are there, why not use it to improve your lifestyle, right?
Yeah, totally. Nick and I bought that little place in Croatia that we have there. It's like kind of we call it a 2-bedroom, but it's a 1-bedroom condo with a bachelor attached to it. So it's kind of like
Lockout suite.
yeah, kind of like that. And I mean, we've used it now with the kids and the family for 10 years. We have like 10 years. But
Has it been 10
been,
years
yeah,
already?
next year. It's been 9 years. Next year will be 10 years. The
Wow.
guy that we got, the cafe we always go to, that the kids always go to for ice cream and drink. And it's great there because you can send the kids to get alcoholic beverages and they just serve the kids and
Yeah,
they can
Europe's
walk.
great.
And they just walk like a glass beer, like a big glass kind of mug of beer down right onto the beach. So you have big glasses of mugs and wine and spritzers and the whole thing. But they're going to throw us a 10-year party on
nice.
next year on the beach. So yeah, we're super pumped about it. But yeah, next year it'll be 10 years already. But we bought that when we really didn't have the money to buy that. But now 10 years of lifestyle and summer vacations and the memories and the kids.
It's
My
totally worth
sister and brother-in-law bought the unit next door. Like, yeah, I wouldn't change that for the world.
But so you're I don't know if you rent or not, but even if you did or
we
didn't,
don't rent it out.
okay, so we do it. So our ROI is small, but okay, you can't steal this. I'm going to trademark this one. We get a high ROL. Our return on lifestyle is through the roof,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
So it's totally worth it.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you guys now then go and start developing land? Because this stuff, can you describe the process? Who finds this land? Tell me about this project that you got on the go.
Well, we started smaller. I mean, part of it was during this whole process of me kind of fixing my health and all the things we talked about. I was looking for other ways for my portfolio to generate income, not invest and create cash flow, but more generate income, because I would be giving up fairly substantial income if I, retire from the fire department, right?
And a big pension too, no?
Yeah, the pension I wasn't worried about. We have properties. I know, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but
No, I got it. Okay.
So we ended up doing bought three over a period of a year. We bought 3 little houses in St. Catharines, and we knocked them down and we built semi-detached properties on them, each with their own basement suite, and we were able to sell each unit to an investor and create a pretty good cash flow. And the investor would create a cash flow from having a brand new legal duplex, and all at a price that you would pay for a resale home of the same I shouldn't say less caliber, but of an older home, 50 years old,
But this was a legal duplex.
legal
Yeah.
and brand new with a carry-on warranty and all that
got
kind
it.
of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that worked really well for us. And then we built some relationships with some builders and stuff like that, and stuff off market, and we were able to find this piece of land that was considerably larger than buying one house and making semis. Turns out we can put 35 units here.
So this is the piece of land just outside St. Catharines, Font Hill, Ontario.
Yeah, I think it's called the City of Pelham and the Town of Font Hill.
Okay.
But it's literally underway to Welland. So as soon as you pass Brock on the 406, the next stop is Font Hill.
Okay.
And then after that's Welland.
Got it. And so the developer brings this piece of land to you that you met?
The builder that we partnered with Yeah, he saw the opportunity. We did some analysis on it, and we figured out how to do the joint venture, and then we bought it. And you know what? It probably sounds complicated if you haven't gone through it before, but when you break down numbers to numbers, it's income, operating expense, debt service, net cash. It's the same numbers, the same formula.
So when you bought this thing, you bought just the land. You guys both
we bought the raw land.
You bought the raw land, and the financing for that was difficult?
No, because when we went to the lender, we had a business plan attached to it, and it was, we're going to close, and this is the site plan, this is the plan, we've submitted to the city, this is how many units we want to build, this is how much it's going to cost to build, and this is the profit margin.
And you just went to the regular banks like TD, RBC, BMO?
We went to the local credit unions down there.
Okay, because credit unions knew the area, they were local, they kind of had a vibe for what's going on.
And they want to lend to on that kind of stuff because they understand it, right? They understand the value, and they want to help the local community. They have a mandate for that.
Okay, but then what about your own carrying cost? You buy this land, or you get financing through a credit union, but you got to carry the cost of this land now. From time of closing of the land to you getting money back, was there some time where you got to carry this thing?
Yeah, so this is what a lot of people don't understand. So
Andrew's just smiling over here. Someone's got this figured out.
You finance that.
Okay,
so when you submit to them a budget, everything goes in the budget,
including the carrying costs of If
it costs $100,000 a year, it goes into the budget, and you draw that out. So when they fund you literally open an account, and then they fund the account, and then they take money out of the account. So they literally sort of take their own money back. It sounds crazy, but that's kind of how it works, because if it didn't, developing would be extremely difficult for a lot of people.
Got it. And I'm sure there was some kind of cap on how long they would, you had your business plan with the expectation of closing on the land, and then how long from closing on the land to start development?
It hasn't started yet. Technically, we haven't closed on it yet. We were able to negotiate a longer closing date in order to get a lot of the permitting process done beforehand.
Okay, got it. So working with the town of Fonthill.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Got it. So you delayed the closing as long as possible to get all the permits done so that when you do close, you can jump right away.
Yes, and then it gave us time to set up our marketing, develop all these...
I know, these guys, you can't see this if you're listening to this, but you have like a builder's beautiful site plan with the street and all the units. And like, how many units are you building here?
It's 30 townhouses and like a 5-unit apartment building, or a little small 5.
Like you got, it's like you're 34. Are you both 34? How old?
I'm 35.
You're 35. Like I just remember you guys like 10 years ago, and now you're buying like your first rental property. You're buying your first property, and now you're showing me a site plan with 31 units on it that you're developing. 35. Sorry. With I see future residential off the side of that coming, so there's more coming. But yeah, that's freaky, man. So okay, so where are you? You have the permits all done now with the town, or
they're almost done.
Okay,
like in the next 60 days.
Okay, and for someone who hasn't, help me out here. I haven't developed land like this. You're going just to make sure you get approval for what you are building. So you propose to the city, here's what we're building.
There's lots of meetings you have with the city, and we hired a planner, like a city planner guy, to design and fill this and with as much density as possible. To maximize the profits while still providing a good product.
Does he doesn't work at the city anymore? He's like a consultant.
He's basically like a consultant.
But he used to work with the city, so he knows what they like and don't like.
He never worked for the city, but he has, because he's an older gentleman and has been around this area for many years.
He knows.
He has the relationship.
Okay.
So
got it.
We don't know what we're doing really, or have little experience, but sitting beside him, he's doing all the talking. And we're just there as
got it. So
business side.
So you hired the expertise, smart. Mm-hmm. And is that how you were able to fit so many? Because you've done a nice job of fitting a nice amount of units in that piece of land.
Well, it's understanding what the city wants. Also, they wanted in this particular area in the city, there's full of single-family homes, just similar to any other suburban kind of neighborhood. But in this particular spot around the community center, they wanted more density. And we were...
Who knew that? The guy you hired? Like, did you guys know that? The builder you guys knew?
We sort of...
That's a very important piece of information,
We sort of knew that going in because we talk, right? But we didn't know exactly what they wanted. So we submitted, when we tied up the land, we submitted to them a handful of different plans, site plans. And this is how we can fit this amount of density. This is how we can do this. And this, you can't see it here, but what Tom sees, this was the best plan.
So you went and sat down and had meetings with them?
Multiple.
Yeah, okay.
Multiple.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got a sense of like what they wanted and what they would approve and that whole bit.
And the city really liked our plan. They saw we didn't want to build crappy homes just to build it and make the most profit. We're actually spending quite a bit of money to build something that's quality, so that we have a lasting, a good relationship with the end user or investor, whoever it is, and then that the town actually appreciates it and doesn't look like crap in 10 years.
And
because we all seen that.
Is your financing, it's the financing final approval dependent, I guess, on getting these permits?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how they hedge themselves. You don't get the permits, we're not funding this project.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you've timed this all out. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot of back and forth, but it's just the way it goes. There's
Okay. And at that town meeting, did it help to have the builder in that meeting as well? So I imagine it's that guy you hired, the builder,
Us,
you guys,
yeah.
you sit down with the town. They tell you what they're hoping
and
to
it's
hear.
all representatives of the town. Like
Yeah, I
someone who
know. I've
works
sat in these meetings before. Yeah.
the water, the utilities,
recreation area, the garbage,
the fire
yeah.
department, all these people, the region
the
of
fire for the laneway access.
the region of Niagara, the snow removal, like city works people.
Yeah, got it.
Because we have parking, like you see this parking we cut out here.
Yep.
Do you know how hard that was to get in? But
Yeah.
that's very important.
So
because
you can't see this, but in a boulevard, they've just kind of indented the curb a little bit, so
Yeah.
you can almost do parallel parking
like
along
street
the
parking,
side of the street.
But
yeah.
it gives people visitor parking, extra parking on the front of the development, right?
And getting that approval was difficult because somebody in the city,
snow removal is a
Everything,
disaster.
yeah.
Oh,
Because
got
when
it.
the plows come through, where are they going to put the snow? Are they going
Yeah.
to clear it?
So
Or
all
not?
these little
You're
things.
learning so
Yeah.
much. This
Yes.
is great.
Yes. So all these little things. We really wanted this to be a nice place for people to live, right? I mean, it sounds cliche, but in 10 years, when I drive by it with my kid, I wanted to be proud of it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. And then whose idea? Because some of these units you guys are setting up with, is it second suites or no?
Yeah, we have 12 sort of slab-on-grade townhomes. No basement, that's what that means, on the rear of the land. The main level has a bedroom in the back. That there is an upgrade option where we can put a kitchenette and a lockable door, a lockout, so that you could rent that bedroom on its own. It has its own washroom also, and it could be a little Airbnb suite or a little rental
And the
suite.
town of Font Hill's all okay with this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So those are great units.
Yeah, and then we have
Those are great units just for like as in-law suite type, legal type in-law suite stuff, second
Yeah.
unit entirely, whatever you want to do it with it.
Those are legal single-family homes. But with a single-family home, you can rent out, let's say on Airbnb, you can rent out individual bedrooms. But the way we've set it up is on the main floor, there's a bedroom with a separate entrance right off the bedroom, a kitchenette, a full bathroom, so it's like its own self-contained unit.
and locked out to the rest
And
of the
it's
house.
locked out. And then upstairs is another bedroom, kitchen, living room.
The freaky part is this isn't just attractive to investors, because obviously investors are going to love that. Like investors are going to jump all over that kind of stuff, and they have been all
And
over
they
you
have.
already.
They're already sold.
Yeah. Those are all those ones are sold.
There's right now I
There's
think
one.
there's one left.
There's one that might. Well, there's one that might come up.
And then the townhomes in front of it are not sold.
Some are.
We just literally opened up like a sneak peek. What we did, we just got this site plan that Tom's looking at back to us in the last 2 weeks. So
Can we put an image of this site plan on our website just so that
Absolutely.
people can? Okay, good. We'll
and
do that.
we just got a sneak peek of this, we just got this back in full color recently. So we had like a sneak peek sort of event, and we just trying to showcase it to people, and we sold 2 units at that
Of the townhomes that are in front of these other ones.
Yeah.
Three.
Yes.
There's three.
3. Yeah, that's right. And so we're gonna have another small launch or a small release or whatever you want to call it, of these townhomes in the front. We call them the courtyard towns. So they're full out townhouses. We're going to have a small release of those to investors shortly.
So getting back to what you've done on those ones that have those lockout, that you're calling like separate lockout units, or like a legal duplex, however you want to call this stuff. Not only is this attractive to investors, but you know the whole millennial generation that can't afford to buy something, if they can buy something and then legally rent out a part of their home to help them cover the mortgage payment, like this, the demand for, like, if you put something like this up, can you imagine putting something like this up in Oakville or Burlington? Do you know how much you would? I know land, and Burlington has no much land. Oakville, I'm just saying Mississauga. No, but I just mean
I would do it.
But let's just talk the Golden Horseshoe entirely. Like, I know, and you guys know. I mean, you're old now that you're in your like early and mid 30s or whatever. But like someone who's late 20s now, starting to look around, starting to form a family, wanting to buy their first home. if they can get something like this, you guys are presenting an option that really the market needs desperately.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So you have future development. Are you going to continue on this other piece of land that's here?
Really, what we think the crown jewel of this little development is we have only 6 we can build just because of we don't have the space.
Okay, that's in the next piece of development. So that's like phase 2 of your development here.
Yeah, it's sort of like a phase 2, but we don't have the drawings yet.
Got it. Okay. Okay, got it. So it's all happening at the same time. That's just a little later. Okay.
We just have all the floor plans here. So these, and Tom will post a picture of it. It's 6 full 1,700 square foot towns, but across the laneway, there's a double garage, and there's an option to build an absolutely legal suite above the garage, a 1-bedroom suite.
A Fonzie suite. I know I'm old when I say Fonzie suite.
They call it, the fancy name is called a carriage house suite.
Yeah, that does sound fancy.
Yeah.
Okay, but so like across, so you have the laneway that you walk across to get to your own garage, and these ones here,
double garage,
that you're talking about now, double car garage. But you're saying legally, if you want, you can build the option to have a separate apartment above that garage, so it's not even attached to your own house.
Exactly.
Like, this is brilliant.
And they get their own parking spot, and because it's not attached to the house, they have their own hot water tank, furnace, air conditioner, electrical panel, everything is completely there.
You know what? Just listening to you guys map this out, this is kind of like the future of all development that we're going to see. Like, you guys are really on the cutting edge of some of this.
You need to do this, and they're already doing it a lot in the U.S. The developer we partnered with, he goes to a lot of conferences and learns, and which you have to do, which is why we like him and he's good. And they're doing a lot of this extra density stuff.
Like urban planners, this is the way to go.
That's what I'm looking for, urban planning.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. And I can even see that in Toronto. On Monday at our team meeting, remember we were talking about how some of the condo developers in Toronto were thinking about doing more and more 3-bedroom condo units, because always in the past been a lot of some bachelors, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom were like the bigger ones. Mm-hmm. And there was maybe some 3-bedroom in a new condo development in Toronto, but not a lot.
It'd be the penthouses.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. But now they're talking about there's a demand for multi-generational families where you need to have maybe more than one family unit in one condo.
If they were smart, they would do the 3rd bedroom as a lockout.
Yeah. No, but I mean, this is the trend that we're on. Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I know some people are hearing that, because I think some people hear 3-bedroom. If you're an investor already, you automatically think Airbnb, like I'll rent these kinds of things out. But I mean, just sheerly from what the population of Canada needs in the Golden Horseshoe area, the demand's changing. It's a single family home is beyond the scope for most people. So now condo developers are meeting the need with 3-bedroom condo units. Like over the next 10 years, and this is where I kind of, sometimes when I hear an investor think about real estate, I feel like sometimes shaking them a little bit in a good way, but saying, you don't understand the opportunity here in the next 10 years. Buy anything you can get your hands on right now. But if you do that with people who don't know you, they just think you're trying to sell them a piece of garbage and you don't have their interest. But I really do have their interest in mind, because I'm like, 10 years from today, with the population growth in this area, it's going to explode. Like, no one was talking about Font Hill like 3 years ago. No. Now I'm hearing a whole St. Catharines, Font Hill, Welland. And the reason that's exploding, if you're listening to this and you don't know where this area is, let me map it out. The distance between Barrie and Toronto is the exact same distance. It's 1 kilometer difference from Toronto to St. Catharines.
Yep.
So that area of Font Hill and Welland is just outside St. Catharines. So it's kind of like just going up to Barrie from Toronto, but kind of going the other way around Lake Ontario. Yep. And the Metrolinx has announced just recently, this month while I was gone in Croatia, they announced they're going to have more weekend access out there, and they're going to put more trains on their existing GO train network. But we know from some Rockstar members who work at Metrolinx who are telling us they're in negotiation with CN Rail to get more GO train access through rush hour time slots from Hamilton to St. Catharines, and they're going to run them right from St. Catharines all the way to downtown Toronto. Yep. Like, this area is just going to continue to explode with our population growth.
Yeah, what I tell people, even some of the classes we teach, and I purposely say, in 10 years, when you think single family home, it's a condo. It won't be a single family home. That's what the normal single family home for people will be. So if you have a single family home, people are going to look at you and be like, what? You have a detached home with no neighbors? How did you do that? It's going to be like a thing.
It's almost like when I go to Italy to visit Carol's relatives, my wife's relatives, and it's like nobody in Florence is buying a single family home.
Impossible.
Do you know what I mean? No one has like a single family home. Everybody lives in kind of 3-4 level stacked places with multiple bedrooms and that kind of stuff. That's like
a flat.
Yeah, like a flat. Thank you. That's the single family home. So I see what you're saying. This is it.
That's it. You got 10 years.
Basically, you have a 10-year window. And some people, if they're younger, get depressed when I talk like that, because they're like, shit, I'm missing out. No, this is a big opportunity. Save your money, get a down payment together. It's a lot of hard work to save. You got to maybe start a side hustle job, something. get a down payment together to buy property. And I don't have a crystal ball, but if you can cover it, if you can buy a unit like you guys are selling where the cash flow is going to be there, I'm imagining those ones cash flow with those 2 units like that.
Yes, the ones with the carriage house, they will cash flow.
Yeah,
Yes.
buy something like that. So even if the market comes down a little bit, you have the cash flow to protect yourself because the market's never going to go up always forever. So this is exciting stuff, man.
But to your point, I tell this to younger people all the time is that if you're investing, you always have to buy a house that you know you can move into too. And if it has a second suite, even better, so you can subsidize how you're living, because it's not cheap to live in a detached home either.
What's been the hardest part of this process so far? And by the way, Paul, did you talk Andrew in? Did Andrew jump into this right away, or did you have to talk him into this project with you?
No, I told him at 5 minutes he was in.
Yeah, it was one of those
quick
things.
decision.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
I noticed you didn't tell me and Nick about it.
Yeah, you guys don't listen to me.
No, I listened about the other property.
The last time you didn't give him a commission.
Hey, there you go.
The volume on that thing is. Oh man, I'm gonna go back. I'm sure we gave you $500, $1,000. It was probably $1,000.
I was still waiting for the rest of the 2.5%.
Anyway, so you bought this land. Lesson learned on that one. You bought this, and then what's the timeline now? So like, when do you think it'll start? When shovel hits the ground? What's that time?
The shovel will hit the ground in the spring.
Okay, got it. And then they're finished then in the fall.
No, it will take. It'll take a good 2 years to build.
Okay, got it. Wow. Okay, so now, 2022.
So realistically, yeah, like if let's say by the spring every single unit sold, we'll build as much as we can at once because it's quicker, easier, and probably saves
Okay,
money,
got it.
right?
So you need to sell a certain amount of units to get the funds together to build the project, just like every
Absolutely.
other developer.
Like we can't go there and send a foundation guy to dig one foundation.
Yeah, got
we'll
it.
go broke in 2 minutes.
Got it.
Right?
Okay, so you're in your marketing phase now, where you're talking about this stuff, getting the word out. I
Yeah.
feel like you're just starting to talk about it. Have you
We're
been?
just starting it to mention it to investors and offering our, without sounding cheesy, like our friends and family rate, like people we know, like this is the bottom, lowest, cheapest price we can give you without losing our shirt.
What's been the hardest part so far? Actually getting the word out about this project?
Yeah, it's challenging. And I think I called you once about it. I was hiring some marketing people, and that's been a challenge too. And the marketing person helped us kind of design and get this printed and all that kind of stuff. But the whole lead generation, communicating with them, and we're already doing that in our own business. But
I feel like you guys do a pretty good job of that for
but
yourselves.
it's a different conversation, and we
Agreed.
had to learn and make mistakes and lose money and like as usual. I'm sure you've talked about that a million times, right? So that's been a little bit of a challenge, but for the most part, we're learning, and it's getting much more popular. The public, the people, the young people in Font Hill and Niagara, they're waiting for us to have our, in quotations, launch day. Like,
Do you have a big sign out there now?
yeah, we haven't got to that yet.
Okay.
But we should.
Paul just looked defeated when I mentioned that.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
got
don't
it.
even-
Yeah, okay, so there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, have you all, okay, so this project, it's very early on then, but have you extrapolated out both of your lives over the next 10 years? Like, do you think you'll do another development project?
Yeah.
I mean, this is
for
early.
sure.
You have a lot of headaches in front of you. I'm sure you guys both know. The bank's going to cause you problems. There's going to be timeline issues. There's going to be all kinds of problems you guys are
Yeah,
gonna
we're going
deal
to
with.
say it's going to close in 2021. It's going to close in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, but that's how this stuff goes. That's how real estate works. But after you look how much you're going to learn through this project.
Yeah, we're already looking at other stuff.
You are, eh?
Yeah, because now that
Now you know the business
It's-
plan and how to take it to the banks.
it's like 10 years ago when we did our first property, and we both did a rent to own on our first property. Once you do it once and you learn, you're like, well, I can do this again, right? It's just in this case, there's more zeros.
Would the
attached to it.
Business Development Bank of Canada do anything like this? I can't remember when we approached them on financing for Rockstar's new office, they wanted a company with a history, and then they'll just bend over backwards and lend you whatever you want. But on this, you're going to have some history now. I just don't think they do residential real estate.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, but this is land development. I think with the BDC, this is a business which happens to develop land and sell residential real estate. If you as an investor go to the BDC and say, hey, I want to buy one single family home as a rental, they don't do financing for that.
No.
But I think for your stuff, you should talk to them. The BDC has been pretty good, man.
It's I will based on your advice,
Yes.
but it's project to project, right? Like, because
Sure.
the credit union who did the financing, who will do the financing here, may not like the next project.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, agreed. But I think you should definitely check them out. Like when we were checking out the BDC, we were also going to TD because that's our primary bank for the business. We also went to Roynat, which is the biggest commercial lender competitor to the BDC. And the BDC was better on interest rate. They were better on terms. And what I mean by that is our personal guarantee was less as a percentage of what we were borrowing, and not only less as a percentage, and time. Over time, we could reduce our personal guarantee faster on what we were buying. And they're a non-demand lender, so that they never call their loans due. If you can't make payments, they'll just work with you to figure it out. Like they're clearly
That's pretty good.
That's amazing. Yeah, as soon as we heard that, and they look at your financials once a year instead of twice a year. So the other banks wanted, and Nick and I have never opened the books to Rockstar. We've never really carried debt or anything. So the thought of having the banks look at our financials twice a year just seems kind of crap to me. But we had to do it, and BDC is just once a year. So all these things together made BDC really attractive. And then on this, we're not taking them up on this offer, but they went right up to 0% down plus lending for the build out costs.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's a bit of the financial history of Rockstar gave them the confidence to do that, but they went that far on a commercial project. I think you should check, it's worth exploring.
Yeah, we will for sure. Cause I don't think this will be we might do one bigger. We might do one smaller. Who knows? It's really opportunistic what you find. So what makes sense.
Andrew, when you come home and tell the wife you're doing this project, is like full support. Like this is big stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't doubt you anymore on this stuff.
No.
She must have doubted you at the beginning. No.
No, actually, she never doubted me right from the beginning.
Really? Eh?
Even when we were dating, she was saying, "Go ahead." Yeah.
She locked you up, man.
Yeah. She's like, "Do your thing."
And Paul, what about you? Family all on board on this?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, no one's nagging me over that.
These are big projects, man.
Yeah.
You guys are in your 30s doing this kind of stuff. Okay, and Paul, what I want to talk to you about is you told me about Sardinia in Italy, and did you go there?
I haven't. No, it's on my list. Next.
Okay, Sardinia. So if you go to Italy and you like going to Mexico, you haven't done your 3-month journey to Mexico.
January.
Oh, is that coming?
Yeah, January 6th.
Till how long are you going for this time?
Till April 6th.
Oh, you're doing it again.
Something like that. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And you don't join him. You usually join him for a few weeks.
I'm going to go for about 4 weeks.
Yeah. So how are you going to do this? How old are your kids right now?
5,
Okay,
2,
you can
and
still
2
kind of
months.
do this because you're not going to be able to do this when
My
they're
wife's a teacher, so she's got the curriculum and stuff. We're going to teach them from there.
even when they're in like grade 3 and 4 and 5 and that kind of stuff.
No, it's probably going to have to slow down.
Okay.
But he's like, next year's like senior kindergarten.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah,
missing
no,
what
you're
is
not
that?
missing anything.
They got the
So you're going to
biggest-
do it
big
again for 3
sandbox
months? Because I
down
feel
in
like you haven't
Mexico.
done it in like 2 years, maybe.
No, I took last winter was off because Tanya
Was
was
it? It's
pregnant.
just 1 year?
Tanya was, and the
Oh,
year
shit.
before we went. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we just took one winter off because she was pregnant.
And you can really go to Mexico and enjoy it for 3 months.
Yeah. I love it there.
You don't get like bored after.
Well,
like,
you convert your entire lifestyle.
No, yeah, got it. You totally adapt.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You're working from there?
Yeah. I work. I got my cell phone, my other phone, I got VoIP, I got internet, you got everything.
Well, it helps to have a team here.
It's true.
People.
Yeah, and you guys
Yeah,
have
we
a
got
team
people
here
here.
now. Okay, so you
We got boots on the
it out.
ground here back in Canada.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're constantly. I probably actually a lot of the clients I work with will say that I respond quicker.
Yeah, because
Down
you're
there.
probably more relaxed down there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot less responsibility.
Where are you going in Mexico?
Playa del Carmen.
You always go there.
Yep.
You're gonna rent the same place.
Like a different unit in the same building.
Is it
in the same
expensive to rent a
complex.
place for 3 months?
Kind of, yeah.
Get like a ballpark a number just to give me perspective.
Oh man, like $1,800 a week.
1,800 a week.
Well,
Okay.
mine.
That's expensive. Yeah, but it's not
Yeah.
too bad either.
No, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Huh. So it's a nice place.
Yeah, we gotta have space too, and then people will come visit. My parents are gonna come visit. My mother-in-law is gonna visit a different time. My cousin will come. Like people come and go. It's interesting. Once you book these trips, then people are like, "Oh, really? Can I like
What are you doing for transportation down there?
nothing? Walk."
Because you're right on the beach.
Walk.
Everything's right there.
Oh, we're walking like 6 kilometers a day minimum.
And then, so how long will you join? You'll go down there for how long, Paul?
I'll probably get my own unit for about 4 weeks.
Yeah, good for you guys, man.
Yeah.
I find it so nice to get away. Like coming back after being away, this year was shorter. But being away just for a few weeks and then coming back here, you just think that we're all running around crazy in North America.
Oh
man.
yeah, it's
Like
totally
getting away,
different.
and then my mind opens up a little bit. Like I can think clearer. I have new ideas. I have new things to say. I just feel like my mind is like knotted up before I go, and then it almost takes like a couple weeks just to like relax, and then you can have kind of new thoughts just about life and about like your decision's on fire. That's when I can make that kind of decision, when I'm kind of relaxed in that kind of state and kind of think about things clearly. Because over here you just get worked up about so much stuff. I find even if you try to make your perfect day, your perfect week, there's just so many variables going on here. It's really, really difficult.
Yeah,
you know?
It's good for the kids too, because they're like, we're around all the time and they get a lot of attention and we can do things with them.
Yeah, the
and-
quality time you can't.
And not just that, I think for your kids, both your kids, it's the perspective they get on the world and life by leaving Canada. Like my kids, when we go over to Europe and they see it's a different lifestyle over there, different people, they talk about different things. I love the fact that they're getting that perspective. Your kids are getting that. Nobody else your age is really doing this kind of stuff. You guys have built a really nice life for yourself. I mean, congrats on that.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah. Okay, what else? Anything else going on with you two?
I don't know. I think
I don't think that this
Gave my
guy's
whole life
driving his
story.
Maserati around, and you still have that Maserati?
Yep.
Listen to this is the difference between me and Andrew. Just say because I
boy.
I can appreciate new cars and stuff like that, but and someone else in the office got here a motorcycle, one of those Indian motorcycles or whatever, and everyone's got some nice thing. Do you know what Nick and I purchased? Electric scooters.
Oh, come on,
We
really?
got those electric scooters. That's the difference
Croatia?
between
For Canada?
There's this company. Have you guys heard of this boosted board thing? Have you heard of it? No, not an electric scooter like a Vespa. I mean like a kid's scooter that you put your foot on, and this thing goes 40 kilometers an hour. Have you been to LA, California recently? You know how they're renting those out on the streets? Like you go out on the street and you can rent scooters. You put the app on your phone. You guys haven't done this recently? All over San. So last time we were in San Diego.
On the sidewalk?
No, they're everywhere around the whole city. So
the
we're in
sidewalk.
yeah, no, the whole city. I got to tell you something funny in a second. We're in San Diego, and I'm not going to mention names, but we're in San Diego to a conference, and you can go to your hotel, and there's just a group of them parked there. So you get your phone out, you get the app, you
It's like the
scan
bike
it.
shares.
Yeah, but there's no definite location. They're just scattered through the whole city. And so you grab one whenever you see it, then you take it maybe to the gym or to coffee to get breakfast or whatever. Then when you get off it, you just park it in front of the coffee shop, you check out with the app, and then if someone else walking by wants it, they take it from there. Like there's no set locations to leave it. So they're just literally scattered all over San Diego, and you can drive them on the street. So you're driving them with cars, but you have no helmet on, you have nothing on. So a group of us went to this conference and we discovered these things. So 6 or 8 of us are now whipping around San Diego in these things. We find some old parking garages and you can start whipping up these parking. These things go really quite fast. And some outdoor malls that are closed, and you can kind of scoot around these outdoor malls. Like it's the most amazing thing. Then you go down on the boardwalks and you kind of take these things, and then we start trying to jump and people start falling and it gets all kind of dangerous. So Nick and I kind of fell in love with these things. And then one of the companies that makes this boosted board thing said they're going to, they come up with a new scooter. It goes 40 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
And they're shipping to Canada. And it comes next week. So my point is, so you have a beautiful car, Andrew. Everyone else has this thing. Me and Nick have these little scooters. We're going to do scooter race in the parking lot. So if you're listening to this and you come to the Rockstar office, because when we moved to the new office, it's got a great parking lot. We're going to do races because we have multiple of these. So we
I
can
got
do
a couple questions.
That's our excitement.
So if you go to like Whole Foods and you park your scooter outside, what if I think it's just one of these community ones and I steal
Yeah,
it?
no, I know. I've thought the same thing. How are you going to lock it up? I know
And then
it's a
if you go
disaster.
inside
and
to
it's
shop-
heavy enough because I thought like I'll just carry it in the mall.
That sounds like such a California thing.
It totally doesn't work here.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any
Winter-
sense.
But what happens
doesn't
if
make
you
any
go
sense.
in?
Yeah, it only works probably until
months.
to Halloween, and that's it. Yeah.
What if you go and you take it
Yeah,
to the
it's
store?
not a smart purchase.
You go in and buy something, and then when you come out, somebody else just rented it away from you.
Yeah,
Now
no.
you're walking back home.
Oh, there's so many of them. They're everywhere. Like if it's left there, like around San Diego, and I've heard LA's the same right now. There's so many, and there's 3 different companies. One of the guys that we were with, his wouldn't turn off. You know the person. I just don't want to mention the name. We were coming back from dinner, so it's pretty late at this point, and his wouldn't turn off. Like the app wouldn't turn off, and you get billed by time, right?
Oh, shit.
So he starts outside the hotel. He throws his in the bushes because he didn't want anyone else to like take it. And I'm like, hey, you can't just throw it in the bushes there because it's still activated. Like you're still getting charged. So we had to get it. We had to call a customer service number late at night, try to get this thing deactivated remotely or whatever. So yeah, it definitely has problems. But there's 3 companies, and they're literally littered around the city. I heard someone in San Diego was telling me that some mom with her kid was riding it, and they kind of got into an accident. The kid got hurt because I guess she put her little kid in front of her on this thing. So they're a disaster. Like, I don't understand how these things aren't outlawed.
Yeah, can't last.
Yeah, but apparently they're all over the place.
Someone's gonna get sued.
It's a disaster. Yeah, it's a disaster. Doesn't make sense to have in Canada. That's what Nick and I got. So there you go. You can ride. I know you're going to want to ride it when you. So before I let you guys go, when you're talking to new investors, what do you tell them now about investing in real estate? So someone, I know you guys are on to these projects in Font Hill and that kind of stuff. How do you explain to a new investor areas around the Golden Horseshoe? What do you share?
Oh man, you almost can't lose.
Yeah, but do you talk population growth, transportation? What is it that you guys share?
I'm always trying to figure out kind of what's, that's almost a secondary conversation. I'm trying to figure out
what their goals are.
No, not even what their obstacle is, because there's always something that they're worried about or fearful about, and I'm trying to sort of eliminate that, because if you can, people make their own decisions very fast. You know what I'm saying? And then all that stuff is an easy conversation afterward.
Yeah, got it.
But if you're talking and they're not listening because they're fearful of something, then it's all on deaf ears.
And do you see common fears with new investors right now?
Yeah, it's I don't know if I have enough money. What if I can't rent it? You know what I mean? This area is not in Toronto, or it's not Mississauga. Can I get a renter in Hamilton or Niagara Falls or Font Hill? Or they're not familiar with this area.
It's kind of, because we've been doing this for a long time, all of us together. It's easy to just dismiss those things, but those are real objections to proceeding for sure. Yeah,
they're very simple to solve, because yes, the answer is yes to everything. You can do it. But yeah, people, if you're not familiar with that, they need a lot of coaching. And then all the conversations are easy from there.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, I think people make a lot of excuses though, right? Like if it's either, the location isn't right, or the market isn't right, or the financing isn't right. But ultimately it's just fear, right? And it's time in the market. So just get in. Wait it out. Wait like 10 years and then see if you like it.
For this project, how do people find out about you? What's the URL? Where do people go?
It's
Summersides Mews. SummersidesMews.com.
Summersidesmews.com.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the project. You can register there if you want to get on the list, or if you want to be notified on any of the pre-launch events and things like that, and you can register there.
Yep.
Or just shoot us an email.
Summersidesmews.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Summersides with an S.
Yeah, Summersides Mews. I really should have worked with you on that URL. Summersides Mews.
There was
marketing. He was the marketing guy. Yeah, I didn't like the S.
Summersidesmews.com. Okay, we're going to link to this.
Yeah.
So when we send out,
Good
if you're
idea.
listening to this, go to rockstarinnercircle.com/podcast. On this podcast episode, we'll have an image of the site plan, and we'll have the URL where you can go to get notified about the different releases. But you're selling some right now. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, they can find your contact information on the site?
They can. If we'll consider anyone listening to this podcast a friend or family. And
okay, so they just mentioned that they heard you on the podcast.
Yeah, we're not publicly releasing this. There is no public
How come you're
launch.
not publicly releasing it?
We're not ready to do it yet.
Okay, so you're just going step by step.
Yeah, we're not ready to do it yet, and we would rather expose the development to our friends and family, and do it that way, like everyone else does, kind of. And if we know if they like it, they'll buy it, right?
Yeah.
And we got their back.
Awesome, guys. Hey, look, man, we've worked together a long time. I didn't know we'd be working together this long. I don't think Nick and I knew that we would grow Rockstar to this point. I just really want to thank you for everything that you guys do. Some of our tastes are different. I drive a scooter. You have a Maserati. I didn't even know if you want me to bring up your car. But, I mean, I really you guys always have your heart in the right place. I think sometimes people can see people doing things like land development. I have no idea what you post on Instagram and stuff, and people can make judgments about you, Andrew, yourself, Paul. I'm not saying they do, but I'm sure some people do.
I'm sure they do.
Right? And I just want, if you don't know these guys, they have good hearts. They have everyone's best intentions in mind, and that's why it's worked out so well for us over the last 10 years. We've always told everyone who's here, the number one principle we live by here at Rockstar is do the right thing. And you guys always do the right thing. So I really want to thank you for that. I feel blessed and honored that we've crossed paths. It's freaking exciting for me to see what you're doing. Like, this is incredible kind of stuff. And not only are you doing it for yourselves, you're also helping investors, you're helping the community. Like, there's just a lot of spillover, a positive effect to all this. So keep doing what you're doing. And I'll wait for the invite down to Mexico too, so I can come down.
Come on down.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Hey everyone, it's Tom Kratz again. So I just want to repeat the URL. It's summersidesmuse.com. That is the hardest URL to remember. So we're going to put it at rockstarinnercircle.com/podcast. If you find the link to this episode there, it'll be there for you as well at rockstarinnercircle.com/podcast. It'll be there as well, but it is Summer Sides, plural, Muse, plural. So summersidesmuse.com is the URL where you can go check out that land development project that they have. We're also going to put the image, the site plan image that we discussed on this episode at the rockstarinnercircle.com/podcast URL. So there on the page for this episode, you will find that image there as well. So if you want to check out the site plan just to get an idea of what they're up to and what they're doing, I find this stuff very interesting. You can kind of check that out there. And if you are listening to this and you want to come out to one of our real estate training classes and meet us just like Andrew and Paul met us 10 years ago, you can do that at CanadianRealEstateTraining.com. So that's www.CanadianRealEstateTraining.com. That's a 90-minute introductory training class. Nick and I are there. We go through all the ways we're helping real estate investors right across the Golden Horseshoe today. We stick around afterwards to answer any questions. It's a great time for all. And with that, until next time, your life, your terms.